What if you're never alone because the angels are always with you, supporting you, listening to you, and seeing your greatness? Today on the Tougher Together Breakthrough podcast with me, your host, Rebeccah Silence, we've got special guest, world-renowned spiritual mentor and teacher and angelic channel, Theresa Vee, with us on the show. The Tougher Together Breakthrough podcast is brought to you by RebeccahSilence.com. Please visit RebeccahSilence.com today. That's RebeccahSilence.com to learn more about programs for individuals, couples, children, families, and businesses. See for yourself at RebeccahSilence.com, RebeccahSilence.com. What's possible for your next steps in breakthrough and healing. So what is a breakthrough? It's finding your way out of suffering and stuck. It's that feeling of new energy, renewed life, and excitement. When I was 7 months pregnant with my second baby, I received a life-changing diagnosis. I had cancer. When I told my older daughter, she said, "So you're going to die?" And the only thing that saved my life during that time was knowing how to emotionally break through. Welcome to the Tougher Together Breakthrough podcast. I'm your host, Rebeccah Silence. I'm a speaker, coach, and the creator of Healing is Possible. In each episode, I prepare you for life no matter what challenges you're facing. I'm going to invite you into the stories of real people who are living life in breakthrough and making the world a better place. If they can do it, so can you. Breakthrough is your right. Get ready to break through. Get ready for the rest of your life. Theresa, such an honor and privilege to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, and you've got so much to share through your guides, but also personally about breakthrough.
Yeah, I feel like breakthrough is a work in progress for everyone.
Say more. Yeah, I mean, how do we even know what a breakthrough is?
That is a great question. And I feel like in my life, a breakthrough has been when I feel like I've finally gotten to the other side of something. And the best and most frustrating part of this human experience is that when you get through the breakthrough, it's only a very short matter of time before there's another breakthrough to be made and to be had. And so it keeps us moving forward. It keeps our momentum going. But it's also when we feel like we've made it, we have to realize that we will evolve as far as we can in this lifetime and that we're never going to get fully to the end of something. We're always going to be a work in progress.
Yeah. And how have angels and your connection to angels supported you in breaking through and living more?
So my connection with angels has brought me so much more joy. Working with the angels has really required that I live in a field of joy as much as possible. And if I can't access it, and I have the privilege of working with clients that day, they will bring me into the vibration of joy to work with the clients. And that for me has kept reminding me of the path back. Joy is the highest vibration we can hold in this incarnation. And so when we're doing that, when we're in our joy and our happiness, then we can be anchoring a much higher energy. We can be anchoring light and spreading more. I'm trying to come up with the word that's perfect for this point in time because it's like happiness, joy, but it's really spreading hope, I think, at this point in time, because there are so many ways that we can fall into the darkness, fall into our own darkness, as well as the darkness being spread throughout the world. And that's really been a blessing, especially in the last couple of years, working with the angels, where they keep raising us as we work with them into this vibration of joy.
Mm-hmm. And then what do you want people to know about their ability to access angelic support. I think part of breakthrough is having support and really knowing in the midst of hopelessness, darkness, pain, frustration that we're not alone.
That is so important. Our angels are with us all the time. And the most beautiful part of working with angels is that they appear in every holy book that's ever been written. So, in some way, you have some experience with angels, at least in your teachings. And so they tend to be more accessible than other spiritual guides that we might be thinking of. And they're just standing behind us all the time, waiting for us to ask for their help. They can't interfere in our life if we don't ask because we have free will choice as human beings. And so they respect that. And they have to wait for our invitation to help. The only time that that's different is if we're about to transition out of this life, like we're about to get hit by a bus or something like that, and it's not our time to leave. Then we all have heard those stories about, someone miraculously jumped in, pushed us out of the way and disappeared. Those are our angels. Those are how the angels work when there's something that we need to be guided through. And otherwise we have to give them permission. And so the one thing the angels are always showing me is that they're basically sitting there drumming their fingers on the table, waiting for us to ask. We can ask them for anything big or small, global or personal. It doesn't matter because they can always be with everyone at the same time. So you're never ever taking their attention away from someone else who might need them more. That's the biggest barrier I find for people talking with their angels and asking for their help. They always feel like somebody needs them more, but they can be with you and every other person in the world at the exact same time.
Oh, that's an incredible point. And then do we have like specific angels assigned to us individually, or do each of us have access to the collective? Can you educate us a little bit more around who are the angels? Which angels are connected to us?
These are such great questions. So the angels are energy beings. They really exist in the field of energy. They don't have physical bodies like we do. They don't have expressions of gender like we do, but we can perceive them in various ways. Some of us see them as human type beings with wings. Some of us see them as colors. Some perceive more female or more masculine energy. And these are all filters that we use to translate what we're feeling energetically and what we're perceiving energetically. And the angels like to present themselves to us in a way that is non-threatening. So they will always try to work with us so that we can understand them in a way that we feel safe and comforted. And so we don't have to worry necessarily about waking up in the middle of the night and seeing this big, scary, giant angel with wings and a sword at the bottom of our bed, because that's not going to be the way that they present to keep us comfortable. We have access to all of the angels everywhere at every moment in time. The archangels are the ones I work with the most. But we all also have our own guardian angels. And we come into this life with 1 to 5 guardian angels, depending. And based on how our life path goes and the turns that we make and the evolution of our soul during our life, we can have a changing of guardian angels throughout our life. So in the past, people have said, we perceive this as a dark night of the soul, where all of a sudden we feel much more alone in our day-to-day life, and we can't describe the feeling. Sometimes that's when our guides and our angels are changing over to prepare for the next phase of what we're doing here.
And do we need to know which angels we're connected to? Do we get to know?
We get to know. All we have to do is ask. The angels will give us as much information as we want and as we can handle at any point. And we just have to let them know what's comfortable to us. So when I say we can ask, it's like having a conversation with your angels. And part of the sticking point for people who are very religious, I find, is that we're not supposed to worship anyone but the divine. We're not supposed to worship anyone but God. So talking to the angels is not like worship. Talking to the angels is like talking to a dear friend who you love and respect and who you want favors from. So
I
you
see.
would be really nice to somebody you wanted to help you move the couch, you know? So that's true. And so this is how you talk. You can talk to them just like their beloved friends that are in the same room as you. And you can ask them. I find it most effective when I'm in a prayerful or meditative state, when I can still myself to the point of being receptive to their answers. And their answers will come in the form of all of our five senses. So for a lot of us, we don't know which is our predominant sense. So maybe we'll see colors, or we'll smell some sort of scent, or we'll hear a high pitched frequency, or maybe even words. So we have to pay attention after we ask for information to all of our senses, because that's how we'll learn how we communicate. And if you're kind of getting an answer, but you're not sure, you can always say to your angels, I need it to be clearer. And they will come as close and they will give you as much as you're ready to handle, but they won't purposely overwhelm you. They will go less than you can handle, so that you can tell them, yes, come closer. Yes, more, please, so that you don't get overwhelmed and shut down to communication and love from them.
This is so incredibly educational. And then what's the backstory? How did you know you were an angelic channel? How did you get connected to this level of guidance?
So I was always a child who was really interested in everything spiritual. So I read everything there was about all religions, the saints, the holy people, the occult, everything that had to do with spirituality. And how I got acquainted with the angels on a deeper level, besides my religious upbringing, was I felt called to an energy system called integrated energy therapy. And so this was an energetic healing through the frequencies of the angels. And that's really connecting with that system and connecting with the angels, working in session with people through that system, is how I learned how they communicate with me. They would show me things in session for the purposes of helping this person to heal themselves. And our communication deepened, and I learned how my filters worked when they were speaking to me. And I started to then go to sleep at night, and it would be like I was transitioning out of this world. So I'm transitioning out of this world and going into sleep state, but it's like I was joining a conversation that was already happening. And it was a conversation with beings that I knew. And so I said, I think that during the day, I can just change the channel, almost like a radio dial, like old school radios, where I can move from listening to what's going on in this world to participating in these conversations. Let me try this consciously. And that's how I started daily communication with the angels and listening to what you're saying and what they're saying at the same time, by just changing the frequency a little bit. And there was one day then, after all of this, and this had been happening for a few years, where all of a sudden I got a message from the angels, okay, now you're going to be doing readings. And I said, I don't really feel like readings are my work. My work is to empower people, not to take their power away by telling them what's going to happen to them and what they should be doing. And the angel said, okay, but this is the work we need you to do. So what does that need to look like? And we sat down and figured it out. And I said, I need people to leave our readings knowing how much they're already receiving from you, and being able to deepen into their own communication with you so that they don't feel like they need me. It's okay if they choose to work with me, but I don't ever want them to feel like they can't do it on their own and that they need someone else to stand between you and them. And so that's been our deal ever since. And that's how really I became a channel to the degree that I am now. And also, I want everyone to take away from this how you're always in charge of your own breakthroughs. You're never going to fall victim to how things happen to you. There's always a way to leverage. There's always a way to negotiate, even with your guides and your angels. And so a lot of times, especially for those of us in female bodies, we get the message that we should take what we're given. And so this was a beautiful way to be heard, respected, and loved. And for me to learn that we can always speak what is true for us in any negotiation.
I love it. Say more, please, about leading your life, leading your own breakthrough experience. What if people are feeling hopeless? What if people are feeling incapable?
There are always times when we feel hopeless and incapable, right? So I just want to normalize those feelings, first of all, because no matter where you are in life, there are going to be moments where you feel that way. When we move into those places, it's important for us to start connecting with something that lights us up. So it can be something completely unrelated, you know? So maybe you like young animals or you like babies. So be around energies, do things that light you up, because what starts to happen then is you start to lighten up your energy. You start to be able to let hope in through the cracks that there are. And you also then start taking back your power. When you start to feel in charge of how you feel, then you start to embody your power a little bit more. And that's the key to any breakthrough, is embodying more of yourself and owning your own desires. I mean, I think that is key. There's never a breakthrough that happens without a desire. And we have been raised in a society, a lot of us, that tell us that desires are wrong or inappropriate. And so sometimes we feel unclear in what our breakthrough is even supposed to be, because we're not connected with our desires. And that's key. So if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling hopeless, just start doing whatever it is that makes you happy. And remember, it can be completely unrelated, and you'll start to shift the energy, and you'll start to gain access to your own guidance, your own clarity, as well as the guidance and the clarity that is being given to you from the divine, from your guides and your angels. And that's so important to be receptive to that.
Yeah. And what would you say to the people that are convinced they don't know what they want? They're not knowing what would make them happy. I find that one of the hardest questions that I ask people is, what do you want?
Yeah. This is going to sound ridiculous, but it's the absolute truth in my own life. I would say play. And what I find the hardest question for the people I work with is how do you play? What do you like to do to play? And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't remember even how to play. And so it's just start. If anything calls to you, or anything used to call to you as a child, go revisit those things. Get your fingers in some paint, go out and do some gardening, commune with the earth, do something that brings you out of the spinning cycle of what is it that I want, and start to free your energy. Be in that place of joy a little bit more, because that's when the messages from inside of you can start to bubble up. When we are constantly looking for them and really like pounding ourselves over and over again with, what do I want? What am I supposed to be doing? We lose sight of the openness. We close off the openness of the messages. That messages can only come to us when we have space for them to land. And when we're so tense and so focused, a lot of times there's no space for our intuition and our own messages to land. And so playing helps us to kind of shrug all of that off, leave it where it lands, and just be in a space where we can be free. And our freedom then can bring us more information. It leaves us open to receiving our own memos from our brain, from our heart, and from our guidance.
Yeah. Will you speak to resistance and how resistance is really, I think the prerequisite to breakthrough, or what you're saying about like the message is landing.
Yes. Resistance is one of those things that actually indicates to us that there is a breakthrough that is imminent, right? Because without feeling the energy of change coming, there would be nothing for us to resist. And so a lot of times what we do is we state what we want for so long, and then just about at the time where it's about to get to us and we're about to go there, we start digging our heels in. And that's when our angels, our guides, universe says, wait a minute, but this is what you've been saying you wanted all along. But what I find for people that I work with, at least, is that there's a fear of overwhelm that comes with any breakthrough, because I work with a lot of sensitive people who have spent a lot of their lives feeling completely overwhelmed by energies, by people, by feelings. And so sometimes when there's a breakthrough, we feel ill-equipped to handle what is coming next, where we start to second guess the fact that we're ready and that we know what we want, and that help will be there when we need it. And then we start to turn around and run in the other direction. And that's when our angels and our higher self, they grab us and they're like, no, 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 come on, come along with me. This is fine. This is what you've been asking for. And when we move into resistance, the best thing that we can do is sit with the resistance as if we were sitting with a dear friend at dinner across the table, and acknowledge it, see it for what it is, and say, hello, resistance. I see that you're here to be part of my experience. What is it that you have to teach me? And that's when the resistance can, first of all, show you why it's there, the parts of you that need a little bit of work to catch you up to where you're going. And also, then your resistance will have served its purpose, right? It lived its purpose. It brought you the message that it's there to give you, and it can go away because you've gotten the memo. And so that's the part. A lot of us run from the resistance when it peaks up, or we feel like we shouldn't be having it because we've wanted this for so long. But the resistance is there to be met. And when we meet it, that's when we have the most beautiful breakthroughs.
Yeah. And part of the mission of this podcast is to spread a message of breakthrough is possible. And what would the world be like if we all collectively committed to a vision where we're more in breakthrough than in resistance or breakdown?
I'm just enjoying the feeling of what the world would be like at that point. That would be so beautiful. Part of what breakthrough means to me is seeing the infinite potential in another person and holding the vision of who they truly are at their soul level, at their level of their perfection, until they can see it as well. And when we can stop living in the fear of competition, then we can start holding each other in a space where we see the highest potential of each of our friends, of each person we meet. And we can mirror that to them until they can hold the vision themselves. And that is the world I feel we're going to now. And I think that's what we create when we commit to standing in our own breakthroughs and being the example to other people that we've done it. And your breakthrough could just be like, hey, I didn't eat any snacks today, right? That's a breakthrough for us on some days. And other days it's like, I just made the next level in my career. So see even the small ones and celebrate the small ones, because that will make the big ones so much easier to handle, so much easier to accept, and so much better to celebrate.
Yeah. And, let's all just be careful about how comfortable we can be in resistance and get committed to the uncomfortable steps and experience of breaking through so that we can stand for each other's greatness. Theresa, What about cancer and world crisis, racism, genocide? I mean, what do the angels have to say about the darkest parts of humanity?
So in the recent past, we've been asking this question of the angels a lot. I think we've been asking this question of the divine a lot too. And what we've been seeing and what keeps being shown is that for so long we've been praying for a world that works together better. We've been asking for light to surround the planet and each of our hearts. And what's been happening in the recent past, as well as now, is all of the places where there is darkness that we've ignored, that we've swallowed down, that we've buried, that's all coming up to the surface. The darkness within ourselves and the darkness within societies, within systems, we're seeing it all. It's all being brought to light because it can't exist in this way as we move forward into a higher vibration, into a world that's filled with more light. These things don't work with the energy. And so you asked about cancer. A lot of what we're seeing also within our own physical bodies is issues that we thought we solved 10 years ago, right? We thought we were done with these things. They're appearing again. And we're like, oh, it can be so frustrating because you've done so much work in so many ways on these issues. And here they are again. But the good news is that what's happening is our bodies are now at a place where the frequency of the planet is so much lighter that we can access what we need to shift and change at a much deeper level than we ever probably were supposed to, right? The shift has happened. And so now we can go even deeper with our healing than, rather than coming back for 100 lifetimes and having to work on the same issue, we can go deeper now. And so our bodies are saying, hey, look, this is still in here. It can't be brought into the world the way we're headed. So it needs to be dealt with now before we go there. So how do you want to deal with this? And there may be new options to deal with it at this point in time. Then there may be newer options than there were 10 years ago, and things that are more helpful and things that are working together. And so this is part of what the angels have been showing us for the last year and a half or so. They've been saying we're moving into a higher vibration, and anything that is not of that vibration will have to be left behind and work through.
I love thinking about, the darkness, the disease, whatever it is that's bubbling up because
Right.
as humans and as collective humanity, we're ready to break through. It wouldn't bubble up to the surface if we weren't equipped and ready to break through on some level. And I just love thinking about it that way.
It's so true. We are so ready. We've been ready, and you're also at the same time seeing the resistance. So I want to acknowledge the resistance that we spoke of earlier. You are seeing in the world where there are people and groups and collectives digging their heels in and trying to turn and run the other way. And this is what happens. This is what happens when there's a breakthrough that is imminent, is that, we're not separate and apart from each other. So in some way, each of us is connected to those people who are in resistance. Each of us is also connected to the people who are at the forefront of this change, of this lightness, of this relieving all of this old energy that doesn't serve us anymore. So we're all connected to each other in all of the ways. And so it's just for us to explore what's inside of us, what's coming up. And as we heal ourselves from the inside, we're healing all of humanity, all of the world.
Thank you. What homework do you have for our incredible listeners?
Oh, I'm asking the angels. So the first thing, I want to put one first, but the angels want me to put the other one first. The first thing is call on your angels. Call on your angels and ask them for help and play with them, right? Ask them for something small, whatever it is that's small. I need a parking spot. I need you to find my keys, and ask them for it and know that it's already happened, right? So it's, angels, I need you to help me find my keys, or angels, thank you so much for helping me find my keys, right? You see how the second one is, it's already done. So ask for it in a way that they've already completed it, and watch the miracles happen. Watch how the little things change, and that will actually start setting you up with the trust to ask for bigger things. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, get out of your head and go play. Somehow do something that brings you joy. Break away from the energy of what you're spending all of your time in, so that, or all of your time on, so that you can receive your messages with more clarity, so that you can touch in and see what's important to me right now, as opposed to what was important to me 5 years ago.
Thank you. And do we have to ask out loud, or is it okay to ask in our heads?
I would say it's okay to ask any way you want, as long as you're asking. But if you're going to ask from your head, I would suggest that you move more from your heart than your head. So either ask out loud or ask from your heart. And that, because that is the energy that the angels live in. They live in the joy and the love. So when we're asking from our heads, a lot of times that gets in the way of what we truly desire. So move into your heart as much as possible and ask from there.
Final thoughts.
Oh my goodness. Final thoughts. Can you imagine how many breakthroughs would be happening, and how great this world would be if every single person consulted with their angels all the time?
Mhm. Yes. Let's all play and practice and be willing to meet resistance where it is, acknowledging it while we stay committed to that vision and experience of breakthrough. We are tougher together. This is Rebeccah Silence, your host of the Tougher Together Breakthrough podcast. Thank you to Theresa Vee, world-renowned angelic channel and spiritual guide and mentor, for being with us today and for sharing your gifts.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Please note that the content of this podcast is not meant to be therapeutic or to replace any personal growth work that you are already doing with a coach, therapist, or mentor. Take the content, have it inspire you, and then keep working with your support system. Breakthrough is your right. Breakthrough reminds us that we're tougher together and that we're connected to possibility even in the most challenging and possibly darkest times. I'm Rebeccah Silence, creator of Healing is Possible and proud host of the Tougher Together Breakthrough podcast, where we come together and we tell stories of real breakthrough that exist for you as well. Get ready to break through. Get ready to live more free, and get ready to experience more breakthrough, because that's your right. If you want to get in touch with me, visit RebeccahSilence.com. Your time is now. Your breakthrough begins now.